We get it. Chill.
Let's go, bring it on. Better give us what we want.
Well, I sing sometimes too, but only like in the shower. I'm scared to sing in front of other people.
All I have so far is Ella Fitzgerald, read the New York Herald. At the top is Aretha, and everyone's Bonita. Lana, damn girl, you still mad I dusted you on your track for the entire school?
You really think you all that?
Oh, honey, I know I'm all that.
What if one of Disney's brightest stars decided to walk away from fame right when she was at the top of her game? China Anne McClain had built an entire empire before she could even drive a car. She lit up primetime TV as superhero Lightning, then shocked everyone when she chose faith over the Hollywood spotlight. But what really went down behind those glamorous studio doors will leave you absolutely stunned. Born on August 25, 1998, in Atlanta, Georgia, China Anne McClain entered a world bursting with sound, soul, and unstoppable ambition. Her dad, Michael McClain, was deep in the game as a music producer and sound engineer, while her mom, Chantel, was out here writing and performing songs with real soul. But here's the twist. This wasn't just a musical family. This was a family getting ready to launch something huge. Picture this. 7-year-old China standing in her living room, singing her heart out to a Spy Kids 2 song like she owned the stage. A family friend, Ian Burke, just happened to be there, completely floored by her voice. He didn't waste a second and called up director Rob Hardy, who was desperately searching for a young girl who could sing and act for his movie The Gospel. One audition later, boom, China landed her first big role. What she didn't know was that this single living room performance would spark a chain of events that would take over her entire life for the next 20 years. The Gospel cracked open the door, but it was Tyler Perry who blasted it wide open. In 2007, Perry cast China as Jasmine Payne in House of Pain, a role that lasted 8 years and spanned more than 200 episodes. Working alongside Cassie Davis and Levan Davis, China learned timing, confidence, and control straight from one of TV's toughest creative minds. But later on, whispers started surfacing about what really went down behind the scenes of those House of Pain years. And trust me, the truth is darker than anyone expected. By 2010, China was unstoppable. Even Adam Sandler had noticed her spark. She landed roles in both grown-ups movies, acting alongside comedy giants like Kevin James, Chris Rock, and her childhood crush, Taylor Lautner. Imagine juggling middle school while filming with legends. That's wild. But Disney was watching too, and they were ready to make her their next big star. In 2011, China Anne McClain became the face of the Disney Channel with A&T Farm, playing the role of musical prodigy China Parks. The show followed the Advanced Natural Talents program, a place where gifted kids tackled high school way before their time. It was art imitating life because China herself was living that same fast-paced dream. A&T Farm ran for 3 hit seasons and made China a household name across an entire generation. During those Disney years, she joined forces with her sisters, Sierra and Lauren, forming their music group, McClain, later renamed 3 McClain. Their dad's company, Gabe's World Music, produced their tracks, while their mom co-wrote and co-produced the songs. Together, the sisters dropped catchy hits like Silly Games and Heaven. But their real breakout came with He Loves Me in 2012, a song that made waves everywhere. After dropping Dynamite in 2013, the McClain sisters were on fire. Their Disney connection sent their fame skyrocketing, and by 2014, their hit Unstoppable had turned into a full-blown anthem that fans couldn't get enough of. Their sound kept maturing too. By 2017, songs like Go proved they had evolved from sweet teen pop to smooth, confident R&B with real soul. By that time, China's star power was undeniable. In a CNN interview that year, she reflected on how fast her fame had exploded, yet she stayed grounded and humble through it all. Can you imagine? Nearly 1 million followers before even turning 15. Everything looked perfect from the outside, but behind the scenes, tiny cracks were already starting to form in her picture-perfect world. Then came 2015, and Disney came knocking again, this time with something way bigger, Descendants. China was cast as Uma, daughter of the infamous sea witch Ursula, And that move changed everything. She took on the role in Descendants 2, 2017, and Descendants 3, 2019, stealing the spotlight every time she hit the screen. Her performance brought serious attitude and depth, earning her a whole new generation of fans. And let's not forget her viral hit, What's My Name? That track blew up online and became an anthem for confidence and power. But then came 2018, the year everything shifted. China landed a role that took her far beyond Disney's colorful world. She became Jennifer Pierce, aka Lightning, in the CW's Black Lightning. This wasn't just another show. This was primetime superhero television, and China wasn't the sidekick. She was the lightning-charged lead. Across 3 intense seasons, she electrified the screen, literally, showing strength, vulnerability, and maturity that proved she had completely outgrown her child star image. The role should have locked her into Hollywood royalty for years. Fans adored her, critics praised her, and the CW was proudly expanding its Arrowverse empire, all with China right at the heart of it. She was that girl, powerful, fearless, and unstoppable. But then came the Instagram Live that changed everything. In 2020, during quarantine, China went live from what looked like her backyard, sitting in a simple dress near the woods as mosquitoes buzzed in the background. Fans poured into the chat, thrilled to see her pop up unexpectedly. The vibe was chill at first. She talked about her hair, Canada, Ireland, doodling, and reading Stephen King. But something felt different this time. Her tone was deeper. Her words carried a quiet heaviness. It was clear, something inside her had shifted. At just 11 years old, the world fell head over heels for China Parks, the brilliant, fearless prodigy on ANT Farm. But now, at 22, China Anne McClain was no longer that bright-eyed Disney kid. She looked into the camera and told her fans she'd been through some stuff. Nobody knew what she meant yet, but the truth was about to shake Hollywood to its core. Months later, she dropped a video that left the entire industry in shock. Tears ran down her face as she confessed that she was officially leaving Black Lightning, right before its final season. But this wasn't just about walking away from one TV show. This was something deeper. "I am doing God's work now," she said with conviction. "And that is all I'm doing." Can you imagine? At the height of her fame, with a hit superhero franchise and millions of fans, China Anne McClain decided to step away from it all. Hollywood couldn't believe it. The fans were heartbroken. Everyone was asking the same question: why now? But China wasn't breaking down. She was breaking free. During quarantine, something inside her had awakened. She'd started her own production company, not to chase more fame, but to create faith-driven stories that meant something. Her mission wasn't about climbing the Hollywood ladder anymore. She wanted to build something with purpose, something real, something that lifted people up. She wasn't trying to stay in the same place. She was moving toward what she believed was her true calling. This wasn't some kind of breakdown. This was a woman who'd spent 17 long years inside the Hollywood machine, finally realizing what it had taken from her. Every spotlight, every script, every contract, it all came with a price, and China Anne McClain was finally counting the cost. But there was another twist that revealed just how deep her transformation ran. In 2020, she sat down with none other than Drew Barrymore. Yes, that Drew Barrymore, on The Drew Barrymore Show. And what happened during that interview was eye-opening. Drew, who had survived her own stormy childhood under the Hollywood lights, immediately connected with China's story. When China talked about starting her own production company, Drew's eyes said it all. She got it. Drew shared that she had launched Flower Films at just 19, right after surviving her own rough years in the industry. She saw herself in China, another young woman choosing independence over being controlled. When Drew talked about finding your tribe and building a trustworthy permanent crew, the message hit China right in the heart. That word, trust, started to echo everywhere in China's world. Who could she trust now? What had happened in those spaces where trust was supposed to be sacred? Whatever it was, it clearly changed her. After Black Lightning wrapped in 2021, China quietly stepped away from mainstream Hollywood, moving with intention and purpose this time. In 2023, she made a rare appearance on 911, Lone Star playing Lisa Williams. But even then, it was obvious her focus had shifted completely. Her energy wasn't in chasing fame anymore. She was pouring her heart into faith, family, and music, especially with her sisters. Through her own production company, she started developing projects that matched her values and her vision for honest, uplifting storytelling. She also started using her voice for something bigger, opening up about mental health, the heavy weight of child stardom, and the struggle to hold on to your real identity when the world is constantly watching. Fans admired her honesty. She wasn't afraid to talk about the pressure, the confusion, and the fight to stay true to herself. But then, in March 2025, controversy came out of nowhere. China posted an old video from a trip to Maui, showing her gently touching sea turtles resting on the beach. It seemed innocent, almost peaceful, but the internet exploded. People questioned her actions, and suddenly, her calm, spiritual image was being tested once again. The backlash hit like a storm. Within hours, China Anne McClain found herself at the center of a public firestorm. Even Hawaii's governor, Josh Green, stepped in, publicly calling her out and saying she needed to educate yourself on Hawaii's laws and the importance of protecting our marine life. That statement alone sent shockwaves through the media. See, in Hawaii, sea turtles are protected species. No way. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Hawaii's DLNR all clearly warned people to stay at least 10 feet away. No touching, no selfies, no exceptions. But that old video of China gently touching the turtles went viral, and social media didn't hold back. Accusations started flying. People called her culturally insensitive, irresponsible, and accused her of endangering wildlife. It was chaos online. Realizing how bad things had gotten, China and her sister Sierra, who had filmed the clip, reached out to Hawaii's DLNR directly. They issued a sincere apology, explaining they hadn't fully understood the rules and never meant any disrespect toward Hawaiian culture or the animals themselves. They deleted the video immediately, but the internet never forgets, and the hit to her public image was already done. Then came September 2025, and things took a much darker turn. Out of nowhere, social media blew up again, this time with wild claims that China had exposed something huge about Tyler Perry. Posts accused her of revealing his darkest secret and hinted that she'd been silenced while working on House of Pain, saying she allegedly felt unsafe on set. These claims seem to link to a lawsuit filed by another actor, Derek Dixon, who made serious allegations of sexual assault against Tyler Perry. Suddenly, rumors started swirling that China might have faced her own disturbing experiences during those early House of Pain years. The truth became messy and uncertain. No one knew what was real or just internet speculation. China didn't address the accusations directly. Instead, her public comments stayed focused on something broader: the toxic pressure, the power imbalance, and the silence that too often surrounds young stars in the entertainment industry. Her words hinted that she'd seen more than she was willing to say, and fans were left wondering what really went down behind those studio doors. After the whirlwind of controversy, China Anne McClain did something no one saw coming. She went completely silent. No interviews, no red carpets, no statements. For months, fans wondered if she was done with Hollywood for good. But when she finally reappeared online in early 2026, it wasn't with a comeback announcement. It was with a message about faith, freedom, and finding peace in chaos. She spoke softly but powerfully, saying she had stopped chasing noise and started chasing purpose. Her words hit deep. Gone was the glammed-up Disney star the world thought they knew. In her place stood a grounded, spiritual woman who traded fame for faith. She wasn't hiding. She was rebuilding. Her production company, now fully independent, began releasing short films and digital projects that explored hope, redemption, and real human connection. These weren't flashy Hollywood stories. They were raw, honest, and straight from her soul. She even started collaborating with independent Christian creators, putting her voice behind music and visuals that inspired instead of entertained. Fans could feel it. This was a new China, and she wasn't turning back. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Some critics said she'd thrown away her career, calling her shift a spiritual rebrand. Others accused her of using faith as a shield to escape accountability. But China didn't fire back. She let her actions speak. She continued to post motivational videos, talk about spiritual awakening, and remind her followers that peace is louder than attention. That line went viral. And for once, not because of drama, but because people truly felt it. Her sisters stood beside her too. Sierra and Lauren backed every project, even teasing a full return to music as Anne McClain. The trio started recording again, this time focusing on soulful R&B tracks with messages about growth, sisterhood, and divine purpose. Their new sound carried wisdom. It wasn't about fame anymore. It was about faith and freedom. Through it all, China's calm confidence became her power. She no longer needed the spotlight. She was the light. Fans who once watched her as a Disney prodigy were now seeing her as something far greater. A woman who walked away from the machine to find herself, her God, and her truth. And this time, she wasn't chasing Hollywood. She was chasing heaven. By mid-2026, China Anne McClain had transformed from a former Disney darling into something far more powerful, a voice of conviction in an industry built on illusion. Every post she made, every message she shared, carried the energy of someone who had finally seen the truth behind the curtain and refused to play by its rules anymore. Her fan base had split. Some still missed the bubbly teen who once sang "Calling All the Monsters," while others admired the woman she'd become, outspoken, grounded, and fearless in her faith. China wasn't chasing the next blockbuster or awards show anymore. Instead, she started hosting intimate live streams and private digital gatherings where she talked about spiritual battles, identity, and the heavy toll of child fame. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She kept it real, saying things like, "You can win in the world and still lose your soul." That line shook people to the core. Her transparency opened the door for other young artists to speak up too. Former Disney and Nickelodeon stars started reaching out, thanking her for saying what they were too scared to admit, that the price of fame could break you if you didn't protect your spirit. Suddenly, China wasn't just a performer. She was a leader of a quiet movement. Through her company, she began mentoring rising young actors and singers, teaching them not just how to perform, but how to protect their peace. She launched a faith-based documentary series exploring the hidden pressures of entertainment, shining a light on the struggles most fans never see. It wasn't scandal for views. It was truth for healing. Meanwhile, Anne McClain kept climbing back into the spotlight on their own terms. Their new music was soulful and bold, blending smooth R&B with heartfelt messages about redemption and sisterhood. Songs like "Still Standing" and "Light in Me" started trending across TikTok, proving that authenticity still sells, just in a different way. And while Hollywood continued its chaos of scandals and reinventions, China seemed untouchable. She wasn't chasing the headlines anymore. She was creating her own lane. Her posts glowed with gratitude, her projects carried meaning, and her followers began to see her less as a celebrity and more as a guide through the noise of modern fame. China Anne McClain had finally broken free of the system that built her, and instead of fading out, she evolved. From Disney's golden girl to a woman of purpose, she'd turned her pain into power, her fame into faith, and her silence into strength. The world might have changed her story, but now, she was the one writing it. By late 2026, it was clear China Anne McClain had officially entered her rebirth era. No more label contracts, no red carpet expectations, no carefully curated image. She was living freely, and for the first time in her life, she looked completely at peace. After nearly 2 decades of playing everyone else's character, she was finally playing herself. And that authenticity lit her up brighter than any Hollywood spotlight ever could. Her faith-centered projects kept gaining traction, and fans noticed something different. Every time she spoke, it felt real. Her voice carried warmth, conviction, and this deep calm that came from someone who had survived the storm and stepped out stronger. She wasn't preaching, she was sharing her truth, raw, open, and relatable. And people couldn't get enough of it. Then came her surprise announcement, a self-directed miniseries titled The Shift. The show, produced entirely through her company, focused on the emotional aftermath of fame, the loss of self, and the spiritual journey back to peace. It wasn't about exposing anyone. It was about healing. China described it as a reflection of the heart, not the headlines. The trailer alone sparked massive buzz online, with fans calling it her most honest work yet. She also started visiting schools and youth centers, talking directly to teens about purpose, mental health, and faith in a world obsessed with validation. Her talks weren't polished Hollywood speeches. They were real conversations. She shared her mistakes, her doubts, and how she found strength in surrendering control. And every time she spoke, the room fell silent, because she wasn't performing, she was connecting. Meanwhile, her sisters Lauren and Sierra stood by her side every step of the way. The three McClain trio started performing again, but this time, their concerts felt more like spiritual experiences, filled with joy, unity, and gratitude. Their voices harmonized not just musically, but emotionally, showing fans what real growth looks like. Industry insiders who once doubted her comeback now called her a visionary, a woman who turned away from fame only to find a deeper kind of success. And for China, that was the real victory. No trophies, no scandals, no pressure, just peace, purpose, and the freedom to create from the heart. China Anne McClain had come full circle, from the little girl singing in her living room to the woman guiding others out of the darkness. She didn't just rewrite her story. She redefined what it means to rise, fall, and rise again, with faith leading the way. It was never really about the rumors, not the viral posts, not the whispers, not the speculation. China, Anne McClain's focus had shifted completely. What mattered now was her faith, her mission, and her truth. The timing of it all, though, still gave people chills. A child star who'd worked under Tyler Perry from age 9 to 17. A woman who walked away from Hollywood when she was at her absolute peak, crying on camera about how the entire industry was an illusion and saying it just wasn't important anymore. Every moment connected, even if she never confirmed the darker theories. Her path was clear. Her production company wasn't about fame or exposure, it was about transformation. It was born out of purpose, not pressure, an aim to create the kind of storytelling Hollywood rarely touches. Stories about faith, redemption, and the beauty of truth. The picture was there, piece by piece, even without her spelling it out. What is confirmed is this: China Anne McClain has become an advocate for mental health, especially for young people struggling to find themselves while living under the blinding light of fame. She keeps making music with her sisters, Sierra and Lauren, blending soul, faith, and family into every beat. And her production company, it's steadily developing new faith-based projects, stories that speak to hope, identity, and resilience. The details haven't been made public yet, but if history's taught us anything, it's that China doesn't move loud. She moves with purpose. Her social media presence is a reflection of that shift too. Quiet, intentional, and selective. Gone are the days of daily updates and overexposure. She only posts when it means something, when it connects to her values. That silence speaks volumes. As of 2025, China Anne McClain's net worth sits around $2 million, the result of nearly 20 years of nonstop work in television, film, and music. But that number doesn't define her. It represents a woman who consciously chose purpose over profit, faith over fame, and truth over treasure. She had it all: the shows, the movies, the red carpets, and still chose to walk away in search of something money couldn't buy: peace. Today, at 27 years old, China stands as one of the rare few who made it out of the machine with her soul untouched. She walked away when everyone else wanted more. She chose God when the industry offered gold. She created her own lane when the road ahead didn't feel right. From that 7-year-old singing Spy Kids songs in her living room to the grown woman declaring she was doing God's work, her journey tells the story of courage, conviction, and clarity. She was Jasmine Payne, China Parks, Uma, and Lightning. A Disney prodigy, a superhero, a symbol of talent and grace for an entire generation. But now, she's something Hollywood can't quite label. A woman who looked at everything fame promised and said, "No thank you, I'm choosing something bigger." So what do you think about China Anne McClain's evolution? Was walking away her greatest risk or her greatest victory? Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. This story isn't just about fame, it's about freedom.